Almost everything you've learned about the moon, its dark side, its power over madness, even its ghostly pull on crops, comes from stories that science has overturned. Words like lunacy still carry ancient myth, yet the truth is far stranger. There is no permanent night on the moon, and every side basks in sunlight. Buried in culture and history, these myths have shaped how entire civilizations saw the night sky. So why have so many of us been misled? And what does the real moon reveal when we finally look past the legend? Every language on Earth carries echoes of the moon's power over human imagination. Ancient Greeks called her Selene, the Romans named her Luna, and in Mesopotamia, Sin presided over the night sky. These deities shaped calendars, guided harvests, and inspired stories of transformation and madness. The very word lunacy comes straight from Luna, rooted in the belief that the moon's phases could stir the mind or trigger wild behavior. For centuries, full moons were blamed for everything from sleeplessness to sudden violence, and lunar cycles were thought to govern fertility, tides, and the fate of crops. Before city lights, the sudden brightness of a full moon changed the rhythm of entire villages. Farmers worked by moonlight, travelers braved roads, and superstitions grew with every shadow. These myths endured not because they were true, but because they offered explanations for the mysterious or unpredictable. As one folklorist puts it, the moon became a mirror for our hopes and fears, shaping the stories we told about ourselves. Across continents and centuries, the moon's pull was felt less in gravity than in the stories that survived. Myths became habits of thought, woven into language and daily life, even as science began to reveal a very different moon. The next step is to look beyond these tales and see what physics actually tells us about our closest neighbor. The idea of a permanent dark side of the moon is one of the most persistent misunderstandings in astronomy. The truth comes down to a simple fact of physics. The moon is tidally locked to Earth. It rotates on its axis once every 27.3 days, the same amount of time it takes to complete one orbit around our planet. Because of this synchronization, the same hemisphere always faces Earth, but that does not mean the far side is shrouded in darkness. Every point on the lunar surface spends about 2 weeks in sunlight and 2 weeks in shadow during each lunar month. When the moon is new, the side turned away from us is fully lit by the sun. When the moon is full, the side facing us is illuminated. This rhythm continues, uninterrupted, approximately every 27.3 days. The phrase dark side is a misnomer. It was born from the fact that we never see the far side from Earth, not because it lacks sunlight. Lunar scientists explain it this way. The moon's rotation and orbit are locked together, so all regions experience day and night, just on a much slower schedule than we do. High-resolution mapping missions have confirmed this, capturing detailed images of every crater and plain on both hemispheres. The real story is less about hidden darkness and more about the elegant mechanics that keep the moon's face turned our way, while sunlight sweeps across its entire surface month after month. October 1959, the Soviet Luna 3 probe sent back the first grainy photographs of the moon's far side. The images revealed a landscape unlike anything seen from Earth, densely cratered and almost entirely lacking the wide dark maria that dominate the side we know. Even this unfamiliar hemisphere receives just as much sunlight as the near side. Over the course of each lunar month, sunlight sweeps across every crater and mountain, leaving no side in permanent darkness. The differences in appearance come down to geology, not light. The far side's thicker crust and lack of volcanic activity left it rugged and pale, while the near side's thinner crust allowed ancient lava flows to create vast, dark plains. There is, however, an exception near the lunar poles. The moon's axis tilts only 1.5 degrees, so sunlight never reaches the deepest floors of some polar craters. These pockets are called permanently shadowed regions, and they are among the coldest places in the solar system. In 2009, NASA's LCROSS mission crashed a probe into the Cabeus crater near the South Pole. Sensors detected water ice in the plume. This was direct proof that these tiny cold traps preserve frozen volatiles untouched by sunlight. As lunar volatiles researcher Paul Hayne puts it, only a fraction of the moon's surface, just the bottoms of certain polar craters, remains in shadow all year. That's where we find water ice, not on some mythical dark side. These discoveries have transformed the search for resources and the way scientists think about the moon's history. Tabloid headlines love to blame the full moon for spikes in crime, hospital chaos, or sudden surges in births. But when researchers actually look at the numbers, the story falls apart. Decades of studies have tracked millions of police reports, hospital admissions, and birth records, searching for any pattern that links lunar phases to human behavior. The result is always the same: no statistical connection. In one of the largest meta-analyses, psychologists Ivan Kelly and James Rotten reviewed data from over 30 studies, covering everything from psychiatric emergencies to violent crime. Their conclusion was simple: lunar phases have no effect. Police departments that once scheduled extra patrols for full moons found no increase in calls. Hospitals that reviewed years of emergency room visits found nothing unusual on lunar nights. Even birth rates, a favorite target of lunar lore, show no monthly rhythm tied to the moon. The numbers are clear. Massive data sets, analyzed across continents and decades, show zero correlation. As cognitive psychologist Dr. Ivan Kelly says, it is not the moon that changes us. It is our stories about the moon that persist. Brains are wired to notice patterns, especially when something unusual happens. A wild night during a full moon is easy to remember, while dozens of quiet full moons fade from memory. This tendency is called confirmation bias, the habit of recalling events that match what we already believe and ignoring the rest. Over time, stories about strange behavior during full moons pile up, even when the numbers show nothing is happening. For most of human history, nights were truly dark. Before electric lights, a full moon meant people could see well enough to travel, work, or gather outdoors. More activity meant more chances for mischief or memorable events, not because the moon was changing people, but because its light made things possible that darkness usually prevented. When something odd happened on a bright lunar night, it stuck in the mind and became part of the story. The myth survived because it fit the way people experienced the world, long before data or science could test it. Even today, these old patterns of thinking shape what we remember, making the lunar effect feel real, no matter what the evidence says. The moon illusion plays a trick on nearly everyone. When the moon hangs low on the horizon, it seems enormous, looming behind city skylines or mountain ridges. But if you measure it, the moon's angular size stays steady all night, about half a degree across. There is no magnification happening in the air. The secret is context. Our brains compare the moon to nearby trees, rooftops, or hills and misjudge its distance, making it look bigger. A simple test settles the matter. Snap a photo of the moon at moonrise, and again when it is high overhead, using the same camera settings. The moon's diameter in both shots will match, pixel for pixel. Or hold a pencil at arm's length and compare the moon's size at both positions. The result never changes. Another persistent belief holds that moonlight can drive plant growth, guiding ancient farmers to plant by lunar phases. But moonlight at its brightest measures only 0.1 lux. So faint, it is 1 million times weaker than sunlight, which pours down at 100,000 lux. Photosynthesis demands far more light. No matter how carefully you time your planting, the moon's glow is simply too dim to spark growth. The real power comes from disciplined routines and seasonal timing, not from lunar rays. Myths may shape traditions, but the numbers tell a different story. Every month, new lunar discoveries rewrite what we thought we knew. As private missions and NASA prepare to return humans to the surface, separating myth from science matters more than ever. The moon is not just our past, it is the next frontier. The real wonder starts when we question old beliefs.